It's time for another edition of Dome and Domer.
Hello again, Irish fans. Welcome back to Dome and Domer. I'm your host, Mike Sullivan from the class of 1990. Joining me as always, my Dillon Hall roommate and classmate, Mike Brammer. Today's a very special version of Dome and Domer. We're doing this tonight at St. Peter's Pub before a live audience. Let's hear it for the audience. St. Peter's Pub is the creation of Bob Kloska. Bob's a 1990 graduate of Notre Dame, lived in Carroll Hall, and his historic home on St. Peter's Street is where St. Peter's Pub can be found. This is the carriage house that was built in 1913, something like that. And Bob has converted it into St. Peter's Pub, which is really has the feel and the vibe of a great Irish pub. And the most important thing here is Bob welcomes all kinds of people and shows great hospitality. And we're thankful that Bob invited us here tonight. Thanks, Bob. Yeah. Thank you. All right, let's get started with Dome and Domer. We're going to begin tonight with a look at this day in Notre Dame football history. So October 9th, 1920, Notre Dame defeated Western Michigan 42-0. People were complaining about the schedule. Let me tell you, they hated the fact that we're playing Western. But 1920, this is one of the last games that George Gipp played for Notre Dame, because it was only a few weeks later, of course, that Gipp got sick and tragically died. And many Domers here in the room tonight probably know the story of Gipper's ghost haunting Washington Hall on campus. Has anybody ever heard that legend before, that Gipper haunts Washington Hall, right? Part of Notre Dame lore. So that happened October 9th, 1920. October 9th, 1948, Notre Dame defeats Michigan State 26-7. The Irish went on to be 9-0-1 that year. This was the third unbeaten season out of 4 in a row for Frank Leahy. The only blemish, I hate to say it, we tied SC late in the year. One of the many times SC has ruined an undefeated season. Plenty of boos for the Trojans, of course. And ND tied the game with 35 seconds to go to tie the Trojans and remain unbeaten. Leahy, of course, one of the legends of college football, legends of Notre Dame. Ivan Maisel, sports writer, has got a new book out on Frank Leahy that you might want to check out. My dad, you know this, my dad was a Leahy's lad, came and played for Coach Leahy in his last year in 1953, and then went on to play for Terry Brennan after that. Finally, October 9th, 2021, a more recent game. Notre Dame beats Virginia Tech in Blacksburg 32-29. How many people remember that game? Yeah. Okay, what's notable to me in that game is Jack Cohn starts the game, eventually gets benched. Tyler Buckner rallies the Irish, only to fall on hard times. I think he threw a pick six, got Virginia Tech back in the game. Cohn comes back in and leads us to victory in a last-second field goal. Think about how far we've come in the quarterback situation with C.J. Carr, Kenny Minchie, and a pipeline of great talent coming in behind him, knock on wood, we hope, right? So the quarterback situation's come a long way. All right, we're going to take a quick look at games this weekend in college football that have implications for college football playoffs and obviously for Notre Dame, and we'll take a look at some games featuring Notre Dame opponents. All right, Bram, let's take a look at Ohio State versus Illinois. Give me your thoughts on the significance of that game relative to Notre Dame.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think you got to go with Ohio State at the moment. But obviously for Notre Dame, what we want anything that helps us to get us back into the playoffs. And what you don't want to have happen is for chaos not to ensue where we need it. Now, Big Ten, SEC, they're going to get their fill of 4 teams each, but I don't think this game is going to matter all that much, whoever wins, as long as whoever does win, that's going to have to win all the way out.
I disagree a little bit. I think Illinois is sitting there with 1 loss. There's no conceivable way Ohio State's left out, right?
No.
But I think we need to see Ohio State decisively beat Illinois, get Illinois out of the mix. I agree with you. Between the SEC and the Big Ten, there's probably 8 spots there between the 2 conferences. And I don't really care how it's divided up, right?
Yep.
But I think the more we have middling teams, 3rd, 4th, 5th place teams in the conference with multiple losses, the better. So I'm rooting for Ohio State to put a big beating
Yeah, a
on
lot of football left. There's a lot that can happen, but yeah, I would agree with you. I think anything that we can do to keep it limited to those teams, then we got a shot for us.
All right, Alabama versus Missouri. Missouri sits 14th in the country, undefeated. Again, one of those situations where do I care which SEC teams get in? Not really. But I as a two-loss Alabama team out at this point, I think about a two-loss Notre Dame team, head-to-head resumes with a two-loss Alabama team. That makes me nervous a little bit.
Yeah, I think jury's still out on Alabama. I'm not 100% convinced of them right now. I just still think they're an up-and-down team. So I wouldn't be shocked if Missouri wins this game. But if Alabama beats them, then they're going to be on the path. It's still going to be a barn burner for the SEC. I think those teams are going to eventually beat each other up by the end of the season. So
for sure,
this might be the year we see a 3-loss SEC team get in.
Wouldn't surprise me. Again, what I want to see is no more than 8 from the Big Ten and the SEC. How it's cut up, who cares? IU and Oregon. This is another one where Oregon's in. I can't imagine a complete collapse where Oregon's not in. I'd rather see IU start getting some losses. So I'm going for Oregon in this one.
Yeah, my heart's with IU, so I'm going to have to go with IU. But in any event,
Kramer, you don't have a heart. Let's start with that. So we're sticking with Oregon on that one officially. The Dome and Domer position is Oregon. All right, Oklahoma and Texas. Texas on life support. One more loss puts them out.
Yeah, not only puts them out, but you got to wonder what's going to happen with that program going into the end of this year with a total collapse of a team that was ranked number 1 at one point. I mean, that's a far fall.
Yeah.
Sarkisian's going to have a tough time recovering from that if they don't put one up against Oklahoma.
Now, there's a bunch of games in the Big 12. It's a mess. Too many to even, like you said, too many variables, too much football left to be played. I just want to see chaos in the Big 12. I think what's really important for Notre Dame's playoff chances, the runner-up in the Big 12, the runner-up in the ACC, they cannot get in. If they get in, I think we have real trouble. So I'm rooting for just all kinds of chaos. But the Big 12's a mess. We'll deal with that more in a few weeks once things play out a little bit.
Yep.
Now, some games featuring Notre Dame opponents that we always want to keep an eye on. Pitt has Florida State. And Pitt's sitting at 4-2. Let's have Pitt win as many as we can. Again, one more loss for Florida State. They have no realistic shot at all with 3 losses. And what I'd like to see is Florida State with 3 losses and then start knocking off some other teams. But we want to see Pitt win. A&M in Florida. Okay, so A&M right now is our best win, right? And that might be true by the end of the year. What do you think about A&M? Are they going to continue to be at the top of the SEC?
I think so. Best loss.
No. I meant that as ironic, right? Our best win is going to be a 1-point loss to A&M.
What? A&M's the team I think is going to have the tougher path, obviously, to see the table. Miami, I think, has pretty much looked like the team that they are. I think they're going to go undefeated. A&M's going to have a rough go of it, but this is a key weekend game for them. They have got to win this game if they're going to stay at the top of the SEC.
Yeah, can Florida, win against Texas and then come back and beat A&M? I don't know. The Florida team from the first 4 weeks was a mess. Hard to imagine, right? Yeah. Okay. So Michigan and SC, like how do you root in that one? Let's get a little audience poll. Who wants to see Michigan win versus SC? Anybody? This is a smart group. No, you got to root for. I hate to say it, God, don't strike me down. You got to root for SC in this one, and I hate to say it, but of course we need SC to come in to South Bend next week ranked and to finish 10-2. That's what we need, right? If SC is 10-2 and is the 3rd or 4th team, but we're not rooting for people to get hurt here. We've got a priest in the room for crying out loud. All right. So I think we want to see SC at 10-2, maybe finish the year ranked. And could they be the 4th Big Ten team? Maybe. We'll see it. We'll see what happens with that. Okay. Here's the big question for the audience. The Irish went out and we're 10-2. Let's hear it. If you think 10-2 gets us in, let's hear it.
Yeah.
All right. Are there dissenting voices that are concerned that 10-2 may not be enough? Let's hear from Tim Murphy. Yeah. I could tell.
Tim, come on.
Okay. Well, I think the truth of the matter is it depends on what else happens around us. And that's back to my original point. SEC and the Big Ten can't have more than 8 if we're to have a chance.
No, but if the Notre Dame continues the way that they're playing, I mean, if they continue to improve offensively like they are, it's going to be really hard to keep them out if they're one of the top 5 in the nation and they consistently put up the offensive numbers, especially if CJ Carr continues to improve like he is. Notre Dame could be one of the most elite offenses in college football in a while with those 2 backs, CJ Carr with the year of experience, right? It'll be at the end of the year. And if he continues like he is, man, I find that hard to believe that we don't get in.
Okay, we got people calling for hosting again a home game in December. That would be great, but I don't know about that. Okay, so let's move on. We've looked at college football a little bit. Let's move on to the most important game of the week. Notre Dame versus NC State. The Irish come in 21-point favorites, I think. And we're going to talk about our pick 6 keys to the game. What we would like to see happen, think is going to happen. And Bram, you'll kick us off here. Give me one of your pick 6 keys to the game.
I mean, this pick 6 is a kind of a pet peeve for me just because I've seen it rear its ugly head too much this season so far. But we've kind of struggled on first down, mostly with lapses of going backwards. I mean, there's been several games where we've had 3 or 4 first downs where we lost 3 yards. And I don't know whether it's just the comfort feeling of the blocking scheme, maybe the backs and the linemen aren't sync. It just seems like for whatever reason, we've had multiple games where multiple times we've started out with 2nd and 13. For my own purposes, if we are going to get back to the college football playoffs and make it somewhere, you got to eliminate that. You can't have that multiple times. So for me, I'd like to see them clean that up this game and just be done with that and be going forward on first down.
So win on first down is your first key to the game. Mine is expose the NC State secondary. They've had a ton of injuries in their secondary. They're starting a lot of young, inexperienced guys. Of course, as you alluded to, our passing game is clicking. We're highly ranked in passing yards per game, completion percentage, pass efficiency, and you see CJ Carr developing right before our eyes with a lot of different weapons, right? So we love Malachi Fields. You've got Will Pauling coming on as a slot receiver. Faison is a big play threat. We've got tight ends and Cooper Flanagan's coming back as well. So I think that there's as much as we want to run the ball and with our 2 great backs, right? We love that part of it. I think there's a real opportunity for us to expose their secondary. I think that's a key to the game.
Yeah, I agree with that.
All right, Brent.
The other thing I'd like to see is, and Marcus is a big proponent of this, is 4th down conversions. We were 0 for 2, I think, last week. And, moving ahead, especially against a team like NC State, you want to get ahead of them. Marcus being the way that he is, I totally see him going for it on 4th down inside our own 50 early in the game. So these are huge. We have got to start converting on 4th down and get that confidence level going for us because later in the year we're going to need that. So I think it's going to be a big key.
Yeah, it was an area of strength last year with Riley Leonard, right? That was incredible at his ability to pick up short yardage. We've struggled a little bit this year, and so I'm with you. I think it's just indicative of controlling the line of scrimmage and cashing in on scoring opportunities. Okay, for me, another key to the game: make NC State play catch up. So let's get out to a fast start. They're good on offense. They're talented. Hollywood Smothers, their running back, is number 6 in the country in yards per game. If we can get ahead and make them play catch up, maybe that neutralizes his touches, the number of opportunities he gets, because he's really good. So, to whatever degree we can start fast and execute 4th down, maybe conversions, and take advantage of scoring opportunities so they're playing from behind.
Yeah, the last one I had was just, I think it's important for the defense to make some of these doubters believe. I know that a lot of people are kind of iffy on the defense this year, but I think there's been huge improvement, especially last game, the way they executed. I think they're on the rise. I think they're starting to get comfortable. And for me, for them to have another solid output where maybe hold NC State to 17 or even less, that's going to speak volumes for where the defense is at right now. And I think that'll put everybody in the right frame of mind, especially the confidence level of these guys. They're going to need it moving forward. So I think it's a big opportunity for a big step for the defense this weekend.
And, if we're going to do that, that's things like continue the good tackling we've seen the last couple of weeks, continue the pass rush we've seen the last couple of weeks, continue to generate turnovers. That's what we've seen to get the defense back on track. And really, let's make those doubters believe that the Notre Dame defense we've come to expect is here to stay.
I think Freeman said it when he said that velocity needs to be there on defense. The way you have velocity is you're confident right from the beginning of the snap. It's right away, and guys are starting to move at a quicker pace, and like you said, tackle better. I think they're playing really, really well. I find it hard to believe they're going to take a step back this weekend.
So back to the playoff conversation, I think that everybody recognizes we have a dynamic offense, and if the defense continues to improve, I think that changes the narrative around Notre Dame being a complete team. So I'm with you on that. We'll make the doubters believe. And my last key to the game is sort of the inverse of that. Let's make NC State doubt. If we get off to a fast start, sort of get that down in their mind that they don't belong with us, they can't pull the upset. The longer you let a team like that hang around, the more dangerous they are. So let's get out to a fast start and avoid the classic trap game before the big one next week versus you-know-who. All right, those are our keys to the game. And Sunday, if you watch Dome Domer on Sunday, we'll review how did these things play out. All right, now it's time to wrap up the show with our final score predictions. Go ahead, Bram.
I do think the offense is going to continue. I think they're going to execute at a high level. I expect them to put a lot of points on the board. So I'm going to go with 42-17 Notre Dame.
I like that. I think the room likes that. So I like 42. I'm going to go with 42. I'm picturing a junk time touchdown by NC State to make it 42-24, but we're going to cover. We're going to cover. Hey, come on. Work with me here.
Point spreads out to 23.5.
It is. All right.
Yikes.
No, it doesn't. Okay, well, mine's changed. That's why I don't gamble. Okay. All right, we're going to wrap it up there. You've been listening to Dome and Domer, the oldest Notre Dame sports podcast on the planet. We've been doing this since 2006. If you like the conversation we had, like and subscribe to Dome and Domer wherever you get your podcasts. We'll be back on Sunday to wrap up the game. For Mike Brammer, I'm Mike Sullivan, and for the group at St. Peter's. All right, we'll see you next time on Dome and Domer.